are you?
Me? No one else? Me. So I am.
Hello, I'm Casper ter Kyle.
I'm Angie Thurston.
We're both students here at the Harvard Divinity School, where we're looking at how secular communities are increasingly fulfilling religious functions. What really struck us from looking at these groups and interviewing the people who lead them is that there are 6 themes which come up time and again: purpose finding, creativity, accountability, personal and social transformation, and most importantly, community.
We're really excited to be bringing 50 leaders of these communities together this weekend, November 2015, in order to learn from one another. And here we're sharing some of what we've discovered. Enjoy.
I'd never desired to start a community. It kind of happened spontaneously, so I'm glad I didn't have to design this. I don't think I could have. But what we're doing, what we have, our community is really 13,000 tribes of super friends. And at each gym, I think that you find the same thing. These people love each other, they're dating each other, they're marrying each other, they're having kids together. If you need to take your car to have it worked on, you drop it off in the morning. It's the people from the gym that pick you up and take you, and they're bringing in their workmates. So it's been a very natural and easy process, and nothing that I could really claim architecture to be the architect of, but to be the steward of, I think would be more realistic.
If I were talking to someone who is interested in forming a community, I would say that it's really important to not only be thinking about their vision and their dream of creating, but that the most successful and impactful communities are also able to be about discovery, both of self and of others, and to allow the creation to adjust around that discovery, because each person brings so much and grows so much, and each moment is so unique that if you're coming in with too strict of a creation, you're going to lose some of the potential beauty.
Well, I think the first question that you have to ask is, what is it that people are seeking in your community? And for us, it is not a space in which to be fixed or counseled. It is an opportunity to be witnessed and to be heard, and to be heard for the whole person that they are. And to feel, I think one of the surprising things that we found is that, for as diverse as all of our stories are, and no 2 stories are ever the same, the things that we found that are shared across a diversity of experiences and stories is that people constantly, because we live in a time in which it's very easy to project a particular image and to see the projections of other people and their images, everyone universally believes that they're doing something wrong, and that they're not quite as good as they could be. So part of the creation of a community, to me, is about naming your own vulnerability and your own, there's a phrase that I love, rather than brokenness, broken openness, and inviting people to show up authentically requires first and foremost that you do the same yourself.
I never thought of myself as someone who builds community, and the word community wasn't really in my vernacular until probably 6-7 months after I already started what I guess is a community organization that I run. And that was because, well, no one ever mentioned it to me. The idea of Tea with Strangers being a community organization kind of happened because someone asked, what is Tea with Strangers? And I was like, company doesn't sound like the right word. It is a company, but it didn't sound correct. And I was like, it's an organization, but that means 1,001 things at the same time. So I was like, okay, I guess it's a community organization. So when I started kind of defining it a certain way, I had to think, well, what does a community organizer do? And I don't have community organizer, a history of community organization. That's not something that I've ever done. So when I was building Tea with Strangers, a lot of the times I was wondering, when I needed something to happen, I was wondering, well, okay, so these things just happen. Because normally I'm the attendee. Normally I'm someone that goes to things that are organized by other people. And something that I kind of realized while building Tea with Strangers is things don't just happen. You You need to do things to make things happen. So when I was building the organization, a lot of the time I was sending like 500 emails that I had to like custom write for every single person. I'm like, this seems a lot harder than it's supposed to be. But then again, I thought, well, whenever I went to something that someone else organized, I guess they tailored it to me. So I guess this is just kind of what I have to do. And every single day I ask myself, why is this so much harder than I think it's supposed to be? It's supposed to be easier, but at the end of the day, to create something, you have to create it. And to create something, you have to, like, that involves doing. And no one ever really told me that.
The advice I would give to anyone who wanted to start something, start a community and bring people together would be first to invite people and see what happens. Artisans Asylum started just like that. Someone put a call out and thought, I think other people may want the same things I do. And they had no idea that 100 people would show up. So I think doing before thinking and planning and organizing sometimes can be really powerful. And also making space for the organizing and planning work that needs to be done, which can often be harder and less exciting at times. But don't let that bring you down.
If somebody was to ask me for an advice on how to build community, I would say that beauty is a verb, not a noun. It's a process, it's a creative process. And you can create beauty no matter who you are, no matter where you are. And like painting, like poetry, sometimes it can be messy, but out of all that mess and chaos and persistence, you can and you must make something beautiful. It's not for the faint-hearted. You'll have to be courageous, you'll have to be brave, but you're not alone. There are a lot of other wonderful, beautiful people out there who care about the community, about the world, about their backyards. So find those people, manifest those people, connect with people, ask them for advice, and be willing to be vulnerable about weakness as much as showing the world your big lion heart. And somewhere between weakness and strength is where magic happens.
So if you're starting your own community, I would say it's important that you listen. It's important that everyone in your community feel heard. Some things that I've learned along the way, it's okay if you don't know all the answers in the onset. It's okay to learn from mistakes. It's okay to grow, because that's what makes a great story.
My advice to community builders is that when you're starting a community, make sure you know exactly what it is about from a values level. Because if you've got the why, then the what can change, but the why is going to keep you going and it's going to get other people involved.
What I have learned in seeing hundreds of thousands of communities build is most importantly is to think about a community as being in a circle, people in a circle, as opposed to people being in rows. So to resist the notion that people are just these audience members or these subjects or these consumers or these people that are like looking up at a stage, but rather how do they turn to each other? How do they go from being turned away from each other, turned to some authority, and how do they get turned to each other? And when they're turned to each other, how do they tell us their story? Because a story of me naturally turns into a story of we. If you want to build a community, use technology for what technology is good for, but use the internet to get off the internet.
What?
Well, yeah.